Marcus Chun stood alone in the apartment that used to feel like home. The lights were dim. The air recyclers hummed their quiet song. Everything looked the same as yesterday, but everything had changed. She was gone. Lyra had left 3 hours ago. She had packed her things while he was at work. She had not even waited to tell him face to face. Instead, she had sent a message. A cold, short message that broke something inside him. Marcus, this was fun, but I need to be realistic now. Lord Vethis has offered me a position in his house. A real future. You understand, don't you? You were always such a sweet human. Like a pet I grew too fond of. But pets don't belong in noble houses. He had read it 7 times. Each time, the words cut deeper. Marcus was human. One of billions who had spread across the galaxy after Earth joined the galactic community 50 years ago. Humans were new to space. They were considered primitive by most species, amusing, entertaining, but not equals. Never equals. The Volanti were the opposite. They were old, elegant. Their silver skin and tall bodies made them look like living statues. They ruled this sector of space. They made the laws. They decided who mattered. Lyra was Volanti, and Marcus had loved her more than he had ever loved anything. They had met 2 years ago at a trade station. She had been curious about humans. He had been curious about everything. Their friendship had grown into something more. Something that made his heart race every time she smiled. Something that made him believe the galaxy was not as cold as everyone said. He had been wrong. Marcus walked through the apartment slowly. He touched the silk curtains she had chosen. He looked at the art she had hung on the walls. He opened the drawer where she had kept her jewelry. Empty now. All of it gone. She had taken everything that was hers and left everything that was his, including his broken heart. He did not cry. He wanted to, but the tears would not come. Instead, there was just a hollow feeling in his chest, like someone had reached inside him and pulled out something important. For 3 days, Marcus did not leave the apartment. He did not eat much. He did not sleep well. He just sat and thought about everything he had done wrong. Had he loved her too much? Had he not loved her enough? Had he embarrassed her in front of her people? On the 4th day, something changed. Marcus woke up and looked at himself in the mirror. He saw a man who looked tired, beaten, small, and he hated what he saw. No, he said to his reflection. Not like this. He was human. Humans had survived ice ages. They had survived wars. They had survived the first hard years in space when everyone said they would fail. Humans did not give up. Humans got back up. Marcus started packing. He gathered everything in the apartment that reminded him of Lyra, her gifts. The data crystal with their photos. The expensive clothes she had bought him to make him presentable to her friends. He put it all in a large bag and walked to the market district of Nexus Station. The Kreth merchant looked at the pile with 4 of his 6 eyes. Kreth were short creatures with gray skin and too many limbs. They were known across the galaxy as traders and dealers. This one was named Voss. Interesting collection, Voss said. Volanti items. Good quality. But you look like a man who wants to sell fast, not sell smart. That means I get a good deal. I don't care about the money, Marcus said. I want it gone, today. Voss made a sound like laughter. A broken heart. I see it often. Very well, human. Let me count what you have. The counting took an hour. Marcus waited outside the shop. He watched ships come and go through the station's huge windows. Freighters, passenger vessels, military cruisers. The galaxy was vast and busy and did not care about one human's pain. I have a number, Voss said when he returned. But I also have an offer. What kind of offer? The Kreth led Marcus to the back of his shop. There, On a display screen was the image of a ship. It was ugly, boxy. The hull was covered in patches and repairs. It looked like something that should have been scrapped decades ago. "This is a human ship," Voss explained. "Built during your expansion wars. The Resilience class, I believe. The previous owner died owing me money. I have tried to sell it for 2 years. No one wants it. Why not? Because it is human." Voss spread his many arms. "Human ships are strange. They do not work like other ships. They are loud. They shake. They need constant attention. Other species find them frustrating. But for a human," he looked at Marcus with clever eyes, "maybe it would feel like home." Marcus stared at the image. The ship was ugly. There was no denying that. But there was something about it. Something solid. Something stubborn. "What is it called?" he asked. The previous owner called it many things. Most of them curse words. The official name in the registry is Despite. Marcus almost smiled. Almost. Despite. Your items are worth about 60% of the ship's value. If you pay the rest over the next 6 months, it is yours. Voss tilted his head. "Do we have a deal?" Marcus thought about the apartment. He thought about his job at the shipping company. He thought about all the places on Nexus Station where he and Lyra had walked together. He thought about staying here, seeing her with Lord Vethis, watching her live her real future while he remained her sweet pet in everyone's memory. "We have a deal," he said. 4 hours later. Marcus Chen walked onto his ship for the first time. The Spite was old. The corridors were narrow. The lights flickered. Something in the engine room made a sound that was probably not healthy. But when he sat in the pilot's chair, the ship's ancient AI spoke to him. Human detected. "Welcome aboard, Captain. It has been a long time since I had a human commander." "How long?" Marcus asked. 47 years, 3 months, and 12 days. Marcus put his hands on the controls. They felt right. Like they had been waiting for him. "Let's get out of here," he said. "Destination?" Marcus looked at the stars through the dirty viewport. The galaxy was vast. He could go anywhere. Be anyone. Start over. "Anywhere but here," he said. The Spite shuddered. The engines roared. And Marcus Chen flew away from his old life, leaving behind a broken heart and carrying with him nothing but Spite. It was enough. It was a beginning. 3 years changed everything. Marcus Chen was not the same man who had flown away from Nexus Station with nothing but pain in his heart. That man had been soft, trusting, eager to please. That man had believed that love could bridge the gap between species. That man was dead now. The new Marcus was harder, sharper. He had edges that cut. It started small. The first year, he took simple jobs. Cargo runs that paid little. Deliveries to stations that other pilots avoided because the routes were boring or the clients were difficult. Marcus did not complain. He did not negotiate. He just did the work and got paid. The Spite taught him things during that year. The old AI, which Marcus had started calling Old Man, explained how human ships were different from others. The Lanthi ships were beautiful and delicate. They needed perfect conditions to work. Kreth ships were efficient but broke down if pushed too hard. Human ships were neither beautiful nor efficient. Human ships were angry. "We were built during the wars," Old Man explained one night while Marcus repaired a power coupling. Humans were fighting for survival. They did not have time for elegance. They built us to take damage and keep flying. They built us to be stubborn. Marcus understood stubborn. He was learning to be stubborn too. The second year, he started taking harder jobs. The dead zones were regions of space filled with radiation from old battles. Most species could not survive there for more than a few hours. Their bodies were too sensitive. But humans had evolved on a planet with a weak magnetic field. They had survived ice ages and plagues and their own foolishness. A little radiation just gave them headaches. Marcus flew into the dead zones and salvaged wrecks that others could not reach. He found old technology, rare metals. Once, he found a Volanthi escape pod with 3 survivors who had been drifting for weeks. He saved them. They offered him money. He refused. Why? One of them asked. She was young, scared. We are Volanthi. You are human. Why help us? Because you needed help, Marcus said. That is enough. Word spread. The human in the ugly ship. The one who went where others would not go. The one who kept his word and did not cheat. The one who helped people without asking for much in return. The cartels noticed him next. The syndicate of the outer reaches was run by a Kreth named Delos. He was old, rich, and dangerous. He called Marcus to a meeting on a space station and hung in the darkness between stars. I have heard about you, Delos said. His 6 eyes studied Marcus like he was a puzzle. The human who is not afraid. The human who does not break. I have a job for you. What kind of job? A ship carrying medical supplies was stolen. The thieves took it to Karvak Station. That station is controlled by my enemies. I want the supplies back. Marcus considered this. Why not send your own people? Because my people would start a war. You are not my people. You are just a human doing a job. Delos leaned forward. Bring back the supplies. Keep whatever else you find, and I will pay you enough to upgrade that ugly ship of yours. Marcus took the job. Karvak Station was a fortress. It was built into an asteroid and protected by guns and shields and 100 armed guards. Marcus landed the Spite in the public docking area and walked inside like he belonged there. The station boss was a creature called Vaughn. He was big, muscular. His species was known for violence. When Marcus walked into his office and demanded the medical supplies, Vaughn laughed. Little human, Vaughn said, do you know where you are? Do you know who I am? You are a thief, Marcus said calmly. And those supplies are going to people who need them. I am taking them back. Vaughn stopped laughing. And how will you do that? Marcus smiled. It was not a friendly smile. I am going to ask nicely. Once. If you say no, I will stop asking nicely. Vaughn said no. 20 minutes later, Marcus walked out of the station with the medical supplies. Behind him, alarms were screaming. Vaughn's office was on fire. 3 of his guards were unconscious. And the Spite had somehow managed to shoot out the station's main power generator from the docking bay, which should have been impossible. How did you do that? Old Man asked as they flew away. I aimed for the weak point in their shield grid, the one they thought nobody knew about. How did you know about it? Marcus shrugged. I spent 2 weeks studying their station before I went in. Humans are patient when we need to be. The legend grew. They started calling him the Unbroken in some parts of space. Others called him the Human, like it was a title. Pirates learned to avoid the ugly ship with the Earth Registry. Merchants learned that his word was better than a contract. Refugees learned that he would help them when others would not. The Spite changed too. Marcus upgraded her with technology from a dozen worlds. Better shields, faster engines, weapons that made military officers nervous. But she was still ugly, still loud, still stubbornly, impossibly human. By the 3rd year, Marcus Chen was no longer a broken man running from his past. He was something else, something the galaxy had not seen in a long time. A human who had made himself into a force that could not be ignored. But he was also alone. At night, when the ship was quiet, an old man had nothing to report. Marcus would sit in his cabin and think about the past. He did not think about Lyra often. The pain had faded. But sometimes, in the darkness between stars, He wondered if he had traded one kind of emptiness for another. He had respect now. He had a reputation. He had a ship that felt like an extension of his own soul. But he did not have anyone to share it with. "Captain," Old Man said one night, "you seem troubled. Just thinking." "About what?" Marcus looked out at the stars. "About whether being unbroken is the same as being whole." The air was quiet for a long moment. "I do not know, Captain, but I know that humans are strange creatures. You break and heal and break again. It is what makes you strong and what makes us weak. Perhaps they are the same thing." Marcus did not answer. He just sat in the darkness and watched the stars pass by, wondering what the future held for a man who had rebuilt himself from nothing but spite. He would find out soon enough. The arrest came without warning. Marcus had landed on Velas Prime for a simple resupply. The Volanthi homeworld was not friendly to humans, but it had the best fuel in the sector. He planned to stay for 2 hours. He stayed for much longer. They were waiting for him at the customs checkpoint. 12 soldiers in silver armor. A Volanthi officer with cold eyes and a face like carved stone. Behind them, more soldiers blocked every exit. "Marcus Chen," the officer said, "you are under arrest for crimes against the Volanthi hegemony." Marcus did not run. There was nowhere to run to. "What crimes?" "Smuggling, theft, conspiracy against the state." The officer smiled. It was not a nice smile. "We have been watching you for some time, human. You have become too famous, too troublesome. I have never smuggled anything in Volanthi space. I have never stolen from your people. The evidence says otherwise." The officer gestured to his soldiers. "Take him." They put him in a transport and flew him to the capital city. The buildings were tall and beautiful, made of crystal that caught the light and turned it into rainbows. Everything was clean, perfect, cold. Marcus had visited once before, years ago, when he had still believed that Lyra might introduce him to her family. That memory felt like it belonged to someone else. The prison was beneath the city. They called it the Garden of Reflection. It was a place where enemies of the state were sent to think about their mistakes. Most prisoners did not leave. They simply faded away. Marcus was placed in a cell made of solid crystal. The walls glowed with soft light. There was no furniture, no window, no sound from outside. The Volanthi believed that isolation was the worst punishment. Cut off from sight and sound, most species broke within days. But Marcus was human. He sat in the center of the cell and closed his eyes. He thought about the spite. He had given Old Man instructions before landing. If Marcus did not return within 6 hours, the AI would contact his crew, his network. The people who owed him favors. Help would come. He just had to wait. The first day passed slowly. Marcus did stretches to keep his body strong. He recited poetry he had memorized as a child. He counted the seconds between heartbeats. The isolation did not break him. It annoyed him. There was a difference. On the second day, a voice came from outside the cell. The human is still sitting there. He has not screamed. He has not begged. It was the officer who had arrested him. "Interesting. Humans are stubborn," another voice said. "It is their main quality. Perhaps we should increase the isolation field. Remove more sensory input. It will not help. One have studied this one. He has spent years alone in space. Silence is his friend, not his enemy." The voices faded. Marcus smiled in the darkness. They did not understand. Humans had evolved as social creatures, yes, but they had also evolved as survivors. They can adapt to anything, even loneliness. On the third day, she came. Marcus heard footsteps first, light and graceful. Volanthi footsteps. Then a glow appeared at the edge of his cell. The crystal became transparent, and he saw her standing there. Lyra. She looked the same. Silver skin, tall and elegant, eyes the color of deep space. But there was something different about her. The arrogance was gone. The casual cruelty that had lived in her smile had disappeared. She looked tired, scared. "Marcus," she said. Her voice was soft. He did not move from his position on the floor. He did not speak. He just looked at her and waited. "I know you must hate me," she continued. "I know I have no right to be here. But I need to talk to you. Then talk." She flinched at his tone, cold, empty, nothing like the warm voice that had once told her he loved her. "Lord Vethis is dead," she said. "He was killed in a political dispute. His family blames me. They say I brought bad luck into their house. They say—" She stopped, took a breath. "They say I was tainted by my time with a human." Marcus almost laughed. Almost. "And now?" "Now I am nothing. They took my status. They froze my accounts. I cannot work. I cannot travel. I cannot even walk in public without people pointing and whispering." She pressed her hand against the crystal wall. "I am being erased, Marcus. Slowly and completely. You came to me because you need help." "Yes. After what you did?" "Yes." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. He studied her face. Looked for the lie. Looked for the trick. The Volanthi were good at manipulation. It was their nature. But all he saw was pain. Real pain. The kind that could not be faked. 3 years ago," he said slowly, "you called me a pet. You said loving me was a mistake. An amusing phase. You laughed at me with your noble friends." Lyra closed her eyes. "I know. You broke something inside me. Something I did not know could break. I know." Her voice cracked. "I know what I did, Marcus. I have had 3 years to think about it. 3 years to watch what you became. To hear the stories. To realize that everything I was taught about humans was wrong. And what were you taught? That you were lesser, primitive, emotional creatures who could not control yourselves." She opened her eyes. They were wet with tears. Silver tears on silver skin. "But emotion is not weakness. I understand that now. What you felt for me, that was strength. Pure and honest and real. And I threw it away because I was afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Of being different. Of not belonging. Of loving someone my people told me I should not love." She wiped her eyes. "I was a coward, Marcus. I was cruel because I was afraid to be kind. And I am sorry. I am so sorry." The cell was silent. Marcus looked at the woman who had broken his heart. She was crying now. Really crying. Her shoulders shook. Her breath came in gasps. The elegant Volanthi mask had cracked completely. Part of him wanted to turn away. To let her suffer the way she had made him suffer. That part was dark and cold and had kept him alive through hard years. But there was another part. A part that remembered what it felt like to love her. A part that had never really stopped, even when he told himself he had. "The Spite is an impound Dock 7, he said. She looked up. "What?" "My ship. Dock 7. Go there. Tell the AI your name. It will know what to do. Marcus, I do not understand. I am getting out of here. My people are already moving. The charges are lies, and the hegemony knows it. They just wanted to send a message." He stood up slowly. "When I reach my ship, you can be there or not. Your choice. Why?" She whispered. "After everything I did to you, why would you help me?" Marcus walked to the crystal wall. He was close enough to touch her if the barrier was not there. Close enough to see every detail of her face. The fear. The hope. The desperate need to believe that kindness still existed. Because I am human, he said. We do stupid things, hopeless things. We forgive people who hurt us, even when we know we probably should not. He almost smiled. It is what makes us different. Maybe it is what makes us better. Lyra stared at him. I do not deserve this. No, you do not. Marcus turned away. But you are getting it anyway. That is how humans work. She was still standing there when the guards came to take her away. Still crying. Still confused. Still trying to understand how someone she had hurt so badly could offer her a chance at redemption. Marcus sat back down in the center of his cell and closed his eyes. He had work to do, and very little time to do it. Lyra came back every day. The guards tried to stop her at first. She was disgraced, a social outcast. She had no right to visit a prisoner, especially a human prisoner. But she kept coming. She bribed the ones who could be bribed. She threatened the ones who could be threatened. She found ways. Marcus never asked her how. He just listened. On the fourth day, she told him about her childhood. How she had grown up in a noble house where emotions were considered a disease. How she had been taught from birth that showing feelings was shameful, weak, primitive. When I was young, she said, I found a small animal in the garden. It was hurt. I wanted to help it. I carried it to my mother and asked her what to do. What did she say? She took it from me and killed it. She said I was being ridiculous. She said the animal was worth nothing. My attachment to it was worth less. Lyra's voice was flat, empty. I learned the lesson. I learned it very well. Marcus watched her through the crystal. He was starting to understand things he had never understood before. When they were together, he had seen her coldness as cruelty. Now he saw it as armor. A shell built over years of being told that her heart was her enemy. On the fifth day, she told him about Lord Vethis. He was not kind, she said. He was powerful, rich, connected. Marrying into his house would have given me everything I was supposed to want. She laughed bitterly. But he treated me like a decoration, a beautiful thing to display at parties. He never asked what I thought. He never cared what I felt. Did you love him? No, she met his eyes. I tried to. I wanted to. It would have been easier if I could have loved him. But every time he touched me, I thought about... She stopped. About what? About you. About how different it felt when you touched me. Like I mattered. Like I was real. She pressed her forehead against the crystal. I hated myself for thinking about you. I hated you for making me feel things I was not supposed to feel. Marcus was silent. He had spent 3 years building walls around his heart. 3 years convincing himself that he was over her. But sitting here, listening to her pain, those walls were cracking. He could feel them breaking apart, piece by piece. On the 6th day, she asked him a question. Why did you become what you are? The unbroken. The legend. Why did you push yourself so hard? Marcus thought about it for a long time. At first, I wanted to prove something. To you. To the galaxy. To myself. I wanted to show everyone that I was not just a pet. That humans were not lesser. And now? Now. I do not know anymore. The anger faded years ago. The need to prove myself faded too. But I kept going. I kept pushing. He looked at his hands. Maybe because I did not know what else to do. Maybe because stopping meant I would have to think about everything I lost. Everything you lost, Lyra repeated. You mean me. I mean everything. You, my faith and love. My ability to trust. My belief that the universe was fair. He shook his head. You broke more than my heart, Lyra. You broke my hope. It took a long time to build it back. And even now, it is different than it was. She was crying again. She cried easily now. he noticed. Like the dam had finally broken, and all the emotions she had bottled up for her whole life were pouring out. "I watched you," she said through the tears. "Every story, every rumor. I collected them all. The refugees you saved in the dead zone, the medical supplies you recovered from Karvak Station, the time you flew into a radiation storm to rescue a damaged ship. You knew about that? Everyone knows about that. You almost died. Your ship was falling apart. The smart thing would have been to leave. But you did not leave. You stayed until every person on that ship was safe." She wiped her eyes. "Do you know what the Volantes said about it?" "I can guess. Stupid human. Emotional fool. Too primitive to know when to quit." "Yes, they said all of that." She smiled sadly. "But I heard something different. I heard about a man who cared more about strangers than about his own life. A man who risked everything for people who had never done anything for him." She looked at him with something in her eyes that he had not seen in a long time. Respect, admiration, maybe something more. "I heard about the man I was too afraid to love." The cell was quiet. Outside, Marcus could hear distant sounds, alarms, shouting. His people were moving. The breakout was beginning. "Why are you telling me this now?" he asked. "Because I might not get another chance. Because you need to know the truth before you decide whether to help me or leave me behind." She took a deep breath. "I was wrong about everything, Marcus. About you. About humans. About what matters in life. I was so focused on status and power and being what my people wanted me to be that I forgot how to be happy. And now? Now I just want to be free. Free from the hegemony. Free from expectations. Free from the cold, empty life I built for myself." She pressed both hands against the crystal. "I want a chance to start over. To be someone different. Someone better. And I know I do not deserve it. I know I hurt you too badly to ask for forgiveness. But I am asking anyway." Marcus stood up. He walked to the wall and placed his hands against hers, the crystal cold between them. "I do not trust you," he said quietly. "I know. I might never trust you again. The hurt goes too deep. The scars are too old. I know. But—" He paused. This was the moment. The choice. 3 years of anger and pain and rebuilding himself from nothing. 3 years of becoming someone hard and cold and unbreakable. He could stay that way forever. He could walk away from her and never look back. But that was not who humans were. That was not what they did. "But I am willing to try," he said. "I am willing to find out who you are when you are not pretending to be someone else. It will take time. It will be hard. And I make no promises about where it ends. That is more than I deserve. Yes, it is." He almost smiled. But humans are not very good at giving people what they deserve. We are better at giving them what they need. The alarms grew louder. The lights in the corridor flickered. Somewhere in the building, something exploded. "Go to the ship," Marcus said. "My crew will protect you. I will be there soon." Lyra hesitated. "What if you do not make it? What if they stop you?" "They will not stop me. They cannot stop me. I am too stubborn to die in a Volante prison." He stepped back from the wall. "Go, now, before it is too late." She ran. He watched her disappear into the chaos of the prison. Then Marcus Chun turned to face the wall of his cell and waited for his people to come. He had made his choice. For better or worse, he had opened his heart again. It might be the smartest thing he had ever done. Or the stupidest. Either way, it was the most human. The prison shook like a living thing. Explosions rocked the lower levels. Alarms screamed through every corridor. Guards ran in all directions, shouting orders that no one followed. The Garden of Reflection, the perfect prison that had broken countless enemies of the state, was falling apart. Marcus stood in his cell and watched the chaos through the crystal walls. He was calm, patient. He had learned patience in the 3 years since he left Nexus Station. Rushing led to mistakes. Patience led to victory. The wall behind him exploded. A hole appeared in the crystal, edges smoking and melted. Through the hole, Marcus saw a face he knew well. Kira was human, like him. Short black hair, dark eyes, a smile that said she was having fun. "Captain," she said. "Ready to leave? I was starting to wonder if you forgot about me." "Forget about you? Never." She tossed him a weapon. "The ship is ready. Your new friend is already on board. But we have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The hegemony locked down the station. Nothing is getting in or out. They have warships in orbit. Fighters patrolling every exit." Kira's smile widened. "So we are going to have to do this the hard way." The hard way? Marcus had learned what that meant over the years. It meant pushing the impossible, breaking the rules, doing things that nobody believed could be done. It meant being human. They ran through the burning prison. Other prisoners cheered as they passed. Some tried to follow. Marcus did not stop them. Everyone deserved a chance at freedom. The corridor opened into a large hangar. The Spite sat in the middle, ugly and beautiful and perfect. Her engines were already running. The hull was scorched from whatever fight had gotten her this far. But she was whole. She was ready. Marcus ran up the loading ramp and into his ship. The crew was waiting for him. 5 people from 5 different worlds. Kira, his first mate, human like him. Voss, the Kreth merchant who had sold him the ship and later became his quartermaster. 3 others he had collected over the years. People who had nowhere else to go. People who had found a home on the Spite. And Lyra. She stood in the corner of the cargo bay, looking small and scared. She was wearing borrowed clothes. Human clothes. They did not fit well. She looked nothing like the elegant Volanti noblewoman who had broken his heart. She looked lost, confused, human in all the ways her people feared. "Everyone on board?" Marcus asked. "All present and ready, Captain," Old Man replied through the speakers. "But the Kira is right about our problem. The hegemony has 20 warships surrounding the planet. Escape seems unlikely. Unlikely is not impossible." Marcus slid into the pilot's seat. "Show me the formation." The screen lit up with a map of the space around Velis Prime. The warships were arranged in a perfect grid. Each one covered the others. There were no gaps, no weaknesses. The Volanti were good at this. They had been doing it for thousands of years. But humans were good at something too. Humans were good at being unpredictable. "There," Marcus said, pointing to a spot on the screen. "The space between the 3rd and 4th ship in the eastern formation. It looks covered, but it is not. Captain, that gap is only 300 meters wide. The Spite is 280 meters long. Then we have 20 meters to spare." Marcus gripped the controls. "Everyone hold on. This is going to be rough." The Spite launched out of the hangar like a bullet from a gun. Immediately, alarms started screaming. Fighters were turning toward them. Warships were adjusting their positions. Weapons were locking on. Marcus pushed the engines to full power. The ship shook violently. Metal groaned. Something in the back exploded. But they kept moving. Faster and faster. Straight toward the tiny gap in the Volanti formation. "Captain," Old Man said, "I must inform you that this plan is insane. I know. The probability of success is approximately 4%. That is 4% more than 0. This is why I enjoy serving humans." The gap was coming up fast. The 2 warships on either side were huge. Their weapons were firing. Beams of energy sliced through space, missing the spite by meters. Explosions rocked the ship. Warning lights filled every screen. Marcus did not slow down. He did not turn. He flew straight into the gap. For one terrible moment, everything disappeared. There was only the sound of metal scraping against metal. Only the feeling of the ship being crushed from both sides. Only the certainty that they were all about to die. Then they were through. The spy burst out the other side of the formation, trailing smoke and sparks. Behind them, the Volante warships tried to turn and follow. But human ships were not like other ships. Human ships were fast when they needed to be. Human ships did not give up. Marcus pushed the engines even harder. The ship screamed in protest. But they were pulling away. The warships were falling behind. The fighters could not keep up. "Jump coordinates locked," Old Man announced. "Ready when you are, Captain." Jump. The stars stretched into lines. Reality twisted. And then they were gone. Away from Valus Prime. Away from the hegemony. Away from everything that had tried to hold them down. The crew cheered. Kira laughed and clapped Marcus on the shoulder. Even Voss made a sound that might have been joy. Marcus sat back in his chair and let out a breath. He did not know he had been holding. They'd made it. Against all odds. Against all reason. They had made it. A soft sound made him turn. Lyra was standing in the doorway of the bridge. She was staring at the stars through the main viewport. Her silver face was wet with tears. "I have never seen anything like that," she whispered. "The way you work together. The way you trust each other. The way you just refuse to accept that something is impossible." Marcus stood and walked over to her. "That is how humans are. It is what we do. It is beautiful." She looked at him. "I understand now why you became what you are. Why everyone talks about you. It is not just because you are strong or brave. It is because you are free, truly free. In a way my people will never be." "Your people are afraid," Marcus said. "They have built a society based on control, on perfection, on hiding every emotion that makes them feel vulnerable. But vulnerability is not weakness, Lyra. It is strength. It is what allows us to connect with each other, to trust each other, to love each other." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Can you teach me how to be free? How to feel things without being afraid of them?" Marcus took her hand. Her fingers were cold against his warm skin. But that was okay. Some things needed time to warm up. "I can try," he said. "But it will not be easy. You will have to unlearn everything your people taught you. You will have to let go of the person you thought you were supposed to be. You will have to become someone new." "I want that," she said. "More than anything." "Good," Marcus smiled. It was strange. He had spent 3 years convinced he would never smile at her again. But here he was, smiling, hoping, being human. Then welcome to the spite. Welcome to the crew. Welcome to the rest of your life. The ship flew on through the stars. Behind them was a galaxy that had tried to break them. Ahead was a future that no one could predict. But Marcus Chen was not afraid. He had been broken once. He had rebuilt himself. He had become something stronger, and now, standing next to the woman who had shattered his heart, he was doing the most human thing of all. He was giving love another chance. Old Man's voice came through the speakers. "Captain, where would you like to go next?" Marcus looked at the stars, at Lyra, at his crew, at the ugly, beautiful ship that had carried him through the darkness. "Anywhere," he said. "Everywhere. Let us go see what the universe has to offer." The spite turned toward the unknown and flew forward, together, imperfect, hopeful, human.